am underprepared. Which, to be fair, is like part of my brand at this point. Hello humans, I'm Cassie Sinclair, I'm a writer, and I'm here to talk about writing. Quelle surprise! I wanted to talk to you today about character, because character is usually where I start my writing, and I thought we're better to start a channel. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about 5 things to know about your character. Number 1. What your character wants. This is such an important one. It's one that's talked about quite often. It's a lot of the time it's the driving force of your character, and if you're writing a character-driven story, it's the driving force of your entire story. One of the most common mistakes with this, which I am definitely guilty of making, is not making a character's wants concrete. It's all very well and good saying a character wants freedom or justice or these big wide concepts, but that's not an easy thing for you to allow them to achieve or to stop them from achieving in a very definite manner. For instance, if a character wants justice, they want to see a specific character in jail, or they want to kill a specific character. Or if they want freedom, they want to be able to escape their town, they want to be able to escape their village. If they want peace, they want to stop this one particular fight. It's a hard one, but so a lot of the time it's like a character wants this item. So a quest narrative, a character wants this item, and the whole plot is about the character trying to get that item, and that's a very concrete thing to base your narrative around, to either stop them from getting or allow them to have. With the more abstract wants, as I've just said, it's a lot harder to stop that. Like if a character wants justice, how does the reader know when that's been achieved? That's what you're looking for. You're looking to indicate to the reader that what the character wants is a very definite thing that the reader can judge as having been achieved or not. Item number 2 to know about your character is what your character needs. One of the best ways for this to work is if your need is related to your character want but not the same. A good example is Aladdin. Aladdin wants fame and fortune and money and... my laptop's being loud. Fame and fortune and money, and he gets this from the genie temporarily, but what he needs is to understand that this want, these things that he's put so much stock in, are not as important as he thinks they are. At the end of the film, he is himself. He hasn't become like this rich, famous person, but Jasmine loves him for himself. So that's an example of the want and the need being connected. Number 3, what your character is willing to do to get what they want. The easy way out is to say that your character will do anything, but realistically this is not the truth, and can make it quite interesting if your character thinks they will do anything and then find a breaking point in the narrative. So one of my characters wants to stop the war and she thinks she'll do anything, but there comes a point where the option is presented to do anything, like this anything that she talks about, and she says, no, I'm not willing to go this far. Number 4, what your character fears. Your character should have fears. I mean, everyone has fears. Everyone's terrified of something. Even badasses, even the most hardened criminals are scared of something. Even it could be something stupid, it could be something realistic. So like scared of some common ones, like scared of dark, scared of fire, scared of heights, and make it relevant to the narrative. So one of my characters is terrified of sleeping with other people because of things that have happened before the narrative, which is relevant to point 5, but we'll get back to that. One of my other characters is really scared of losing people. So and you have to find a way to kind of prioritize their fears. So Anita is terrified of conflict and of fighting and of the war in general, but she's more terrified of losing people, so she will deal with these lesser fears of being involved in order to make sure that she can stay with her people and protect them and make sure they're safe. Guys, you've got to let your characters have it. It can be hard because your characters are your babies, your characters are your children, and you've made them, you're like, I want you to have a nice happy life. No, that's not interesting. Beat your characters up, beat them when they're down, put them in a hole, and then put their worst fear in with them, and then see how they react, and create interesting narratives, and create interesting stories, and make people relate to your characters, and feel sorry for your characters, and sympathise and empathise, and they're different things. I know, Miss Sokos, I know they're different things. Number 5, at least one element of their backstory that is mainly unrelated to the narrative. So most people will know a lot of a character's backstory as it relates to the current timeline of the narrative, which is great, that's good, you get a strong story out of that. But by coming up with one random element of backstory at least, you create a more well-rounded characters that have history and feel more three-dimensional because they have a past rather than just appearing randomly for the purposes of the story. I have a whole document with a whole list of, I think I called it like memories, and it's like my characters' childhood memories and stuff. So like, oh, they built a tree house once, oh, they've all got detention except Anita. Just tiny little things, like the first time they met, birthdays, like, oh, Dove taught Sorrel and Elva how to play a new card game, and it was like a really nice time. And these are mostly unrelated to the narrative, but if you pull them in weave them in throughout the story, the world feels much more real because it has a history, if that makes sense. So I don't dwell on any of these points, and half the points won't even make it in, but occasionally I'll like mention the time that Sorrel and Avery built a tree house. I'll mention, like, Sorrel will teach the other two how to play a card game, and he'll mention that Dove taught him, and it just creates a history for your world with honestly minimal effort and minimal info dumping and exposition within the text. For the final point, it's not a thing you need to know about your character, but it's a top tip for making characters, and it's so important, and I feel like a lot of people forget it. Make your characters' strengths and weaknesses connected. Make them related to each other. I feel like so often all of us, including me, are guilty of writing a list of strengths, and like, so just coming up with a list of strengths and then coming up with a list of weaknesses and thinking that's enough. But like, it's good, your character needs to have flaws. I feel like oftentimes they can be an afterthought, and it's so much better if you really relate the strengths and weaknesses. So like, my my central protagonist, Avery, is so determined and confident, and that's a strength. She's determined to do things, so she does, but that becomes the weakness of stubbornness and refusal to do anything other than her way, which becomes an issue. It becomes a weakness. That's a flaw. So you can have someone and the other way around as well, you can have someone who's really paranoid, and that's a weakness, but then there comes a point where their paranoia stops them from trusting someone who is untrustworthy, and while all the other characters trust them, their paranoia becomes a strength because they're not fooled by this person. And by interlinking, God, can I even English? By interlinking strengths and weaknesses, it creates a much more believable character and a much more interesting character. It's so important as well because there are so many situations where things can be a strength or a weakness. And I think that's a wrap on my first video. Oh, that's it. I need to do all the YouTuber things, so like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more videos. I think I'm going to do 2 a month. I'm going to say 1 a month, and maybe you'll get a nice surprise. So click the notifications bell to find out when that video is appearing in the month. Bye humans, from your favourite creature Cassie. I will see you next time.